Perfect. So as I said, welcome to this webinar. So if you could move maybe to the next slide to kind of give the menu of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to first start by introducing the amazing team we have about with us today. We're also going to talk about your career, the life questions you might ask yourself, talk about different assessment tools. And what's interesting with assessment, and people tend to be really, really scared of assessment because they kind of merge assessment and tests. Tests have right and wrong answers. Assessments have no wrong answers because it's all about you. It's all about you discovering more about who you are, what that means, and how you can use the assessment to help you be even better. Then we're going to move to some case studies from a coach's perspective. We're going to cover the balance wheel of life, and finally we're going to have some Q&A and some takeaways. So the kind of key learning and key takeaways about today is you're going to learn more about yourself. We're going to tell you more about assessments. We're going to help you experience life, the wheel of life, and you're going to learn some facts through the case studies. So to give you some kind of background, my name is Philip Matthijs. I'm the co-founder of Reach Outstanding. And what we did, we created a couple of companies with different brands to really match the needs of the people we're serving. So today we're having Get Set Coach, and Get Set Coach was designed to create a set of offering which really is designed for students, first jobbers, new managers, for life coachings. But then just like your life and your career evolves, we also wanted the brand, the offerings, and the solutions to evolve with the people. So it goes all the way to Reach Outstanding, which is designed for executive, for managers, for leaders, and for CXOs. So also today, I have most of my amazing teams with me. So I have Josh is there with us today, all the way from the US, Kartik from the Netherlands, Mira from India, Monica from Dubai, and Jesse couldn't make it with us today. So what I propose we do is I'm going to hand over to Kartik, who's kind of going to start taking us to the meat of the topic today. Kartik, over to you.
Thank you, Philip. Yeah. So hello, everyone. And all of us in our career, in our life, there are questions which that we might be searching answers for. And these questions are coming to us because we are in a position to find answers. And today, this webinar is about helping you helping you to find those leads which could take you towards those answers. So these questions in our career and life could be across several dimensions. One could be our own health, like be it the physical or emotional health, or it could be about relationships, like how do I improve my professional relationship with my colleagues, or it could be what do I do to nurture relationships outside work, or it could be about education, like for somebody who is just finishing masters. I mean, am I to move into PhD, or I want to look for a job? So since being the first job, how do I prepare myself? And as students, or as maybe final year, or maybe who's getting into the career, how do I develop the confidence, the focus? I mean, how do I manage my time better? So it could be any of these things. And education could be also about ongoing learning, like what can I do to upskill myself to keep myself relevant? And when it comes to career, like, so what's the next step in my career? I mean, do I have the clarity on that? So how do I get there? That could be the next question. And for somebody who feels his or her career is stagnated, so how do I reboot it? Or maybe sometimes you're feeling lost in the crowd and you want to differentiate yourself. You want to accelerate a career growth. You might be identified future leaders in the organization. So how do you accelerate your journey towards your future leader? So these could be questions across several dimensions. And when it's about entrepreneurship, like you might be in a corporate job today, but you want to become an entrepreneur at some point of time. So is entrepreneurship for me? That could be a question. That's something you might have. And if you are an entrepreneur, might be how do I grow my business? How do I brand my business? And also about a life as a whole. How do I be happy? I mean, the central, I would say, work of a life is to be happy. If that's so, I mean, how do I lead a happy, fulfilling life? And what's my life's purpose? So like this, across career, health, relationships, education, my life as a whole, there could be so many questions that we might have. And here in this webinar, let's just take a pause as we go to the next slide. Let's take a pause and take a moment to reflect and write down those questions that we are seeking answers for. So here, maybe the next 15-20 seconds, we can take that moment to do this. I request all of the participants to write those questions. And to take the webinar further, I now hand over to Meera and Philip.
Thanks, Karthik. And just before I hand over to Meera, as we said to you, we wanted to make it interactive, and we wanted all of you guys to participate. So Meera, why don't you take us to one of our first assessments today?
Lovely. Welcome everyone. Good evening once again. Good morning to everyone, whatever time zone you are in. It's lovely to have all of you. And let's wake up for those people for whom it's very early in the morning. So you can see the Wheel of Life now on the slide on the screen. And I hope that all of you have downloaded a sheet of Wheel of Life for yourselves. So I'm going to just take you through on how to do this. A great life tool, if you want to take a helicopter view of your life, is the Wheel of Life. Here I'll explain what it is and how you can complete this for yourself. When you are stressed or overloaded at work, it's easy to lose sight of other important parts of our life. This is when you need to take a step back and look at the big picture. The Wheel of Life can help you think about each area of your life and figure out where it might be off balance. The Wheel of Life is a picture of your life as it is now and as you would like it to be. So begin with assessing how much time and attention you are giving to each dimension. There is a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 means you're ignoring it and 10 means it dominates your life. Mark your scores on the wheel, working out from 0 at the center to 10 on the rim. Once you have given your scores, then draw a line from score to score, working around the wheel until all the points are joined together. What does it look like? We will come to that. So let's give ourselves a minute for all of you to just go through these dimensions of your life and give a score to yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. I'm going to stay quiet so that I let you think about the scores and put it on the sheet. If we are done, you can always write in the chat box that we are done, and we can then move on with the exercise.
Looks like we have a shy audience today. So whilst they're finishing, Meera, can the categories be changed in the Wheel of Life, or is it just fixed forever to those categories?
No, mostly depending on the kind of crowd you get, these are the usual dimensions of each individual's life. So these are the commonly used ones, but you can actually specialize into each part. So for example, if somebody wants to focus on career, we can make 8 dimensions of career. If you want to focus on life, then we make 8 dimensions. So we can go deeper into each of these aspects with 8 dimensions on that wheel. So how it works out is basically once they score out, and once you come to know what's the balance, then they want to take actions on it, then we dwell into that particular score and we bring out the specifics of that dimension. So I think I see one of them has said done. We'll just give 15 more seconds. Great, Nahid also is done. I think we should be good to go. All right, 5 more seconds, just in case. Okay, so Wheel of Life was basically drawing a line from score to score, working around the wheel until all the points join together. So look at your Wheel of Life. What does it look like? Are any parts clearly out of balance? Have a look. Remember, different dimensions will need more or less attention at different times in your life. So there is no one right answer. The goal is not to make a perfect circle, but to think about how much attention you would like to give to each part of your life. So I hope you have plotted your ideal scores on the diagram and visualize how things could be for you. So does it look like a spider web? Have a look at your scores and see if it looks like a spider's web. The aim is to better understand what is causing the lower scores and what could help to increase the score closer to a 10. So now that you have completed scoring, if it does not look like a balanced wheel, we can help design some goals, check out any neglected areas, work together, and support in regaining the balance. So once, if you wish to connect with any of the coaches from Get Set Coach, please feel free to dwell more deeper, more specific into any one of these dimensions or even on all the 8 dimensions, and we can work together with you in helping you regain the balance of your life. Over to you, Philippe.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ramira. And I hope the people who did the Wheel of Life find it really useful and also kind of really insightful of what we're about. So now what we'd like to do is bring Josh over, and Josh will cover different assessments, including probably one of the most famous one on the planet. So Josh, over to you. You're muted, Josh.
Sorry about that. But thank you, Philip. There are 4 assessments that we use in the world of coaching. We have personality assessments, strengths measurements, skills assessments, and the 360 feedback. The personality assessments we might explore a little bit later on today. They're one of the biggest ones we have that's out there that's popular is the MBTI. Then there's the strengths measurements, the skills measurements, and the 360 helps the individual who is a manager or leader learn more about themselves through their team. So the way that that's administered is the executive coach goes into the organization and passes around a survey to their team. Their team fills out that survey about their manager and the goals of the organization, and the coach works with the client who's the manager, and they discuss all the different things that the manager or leader can do more effectively. Plus, they also bring in the teams and help the team become more effective as a team. The power that's generated when there is an assessment that's used is through coaching. So any of these assessments, including the Balance Wheel of Life, would help a client get from point A to B a lot faster. It'll also help the client work on some more deeper layers that normally would have to be explored through a longer period of time. Through coaching, you can get to those deeper layers really rapidly. So for instance, if your romance and life and love score that you put down on that balance wheel is low as a 4, well, that's an area that can be unlocked through coaching, and you can explore different ways in which you can improve from a 5 to a 6 or a 4 to a 5, and that occurs through the coaching process. And we'll explore a lot of the assessments a little bit later through some of our case studies. The popular assessments in coaching are here. They're the DISC, the Hogan, the Clifton Strengths Finder, the EQI, which is Emotional Intelligence Profile XT, and the Winslow Profile. There also are others, and you saw a free one. A lot of these assessments that you see on your screen right now are actually paid assessments that you pay for. And so there are differentiations between how it's used in coaching, in a coaching session, and also sometimes with individuals that are low income or have some kind of economic disadvantage, the coach can use a free assessment like you had with the Balance Wheel of Life. So if we go to the next screen, these are the assessments that we're going to explore today. These are the Get Set Coach assessments that we have here. 2 of them are not on your screen. We have the Profile XT and the Winslow, but today we're going to explore the MBTI, the DISC, and the Strengths Finder. And so the one that I use the most with my clients is the MBTI. The MBTI helps a client deepen their self-awareness and broadens their perspectives. As it's accomplished, the clients are able to define goals related to many different areas, including communication, leadership, team building, career development, stress management, and relationships. They show predictable behavioral patterns, blind spots, strengths to leverage, areas for growth, and ideas for action planning. The MBTI is a reliable tool and has spanned more than 70 years. It's based on Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung's theory of psychological types that dates back to the 20s. The MBTI was developed by an American mother, Catherine Briggs, and her daughter, Isabel Myers. That's where you get the name MBTI. They created Myers-Briggs Type Indicator in the 40s. It simplifies Jung's theory and indicates 8 personality preferences made up of 4 pair groups: extroversion, sensing, thinking, judging, introversion, intuition, feeling, and perceiving. Everyone's personality includes all the above, all the types that you'll see. We have 16 different types, and that's where each person, when they take the Myers-Briggs, they come back with a 4-digit code, and that they fit within any of these types. So one of the things that I would like to share is that I am an ENFJ, and that's my preference. My preferences are extroversion, intuition, feeling, and judging. And all these code combinations are equal, and they all share strengths that are areas for development. And now I'll hand over I'll hand over the presentation to Mira.
All right, thank you, Josh. And that was MBTI for us, and I hope you guys got a good feel of what MBTI can be used for and how it can deliver results for us. So we move on to the next assessment, which is available at GSE Get Set Coach, is DISC. So would you like to understand yourself, colleagues, friends, and family in a profound way? Would you like to recruit more effectively and build a stronger and more productive team? Would you like to have an increased self-awareness of your leadership and communication skills? Would you like to minimize or prevent conflict, become a better communicator, and influence others positively? Or, for that matter, identify possible workplace stressors, which help you understand the work that energizes versus drains you? So DISC can help all of us learn about ourselves, learn about others, and learn how to build more effective relationships with others and adapt our own behavior. The DISC assessments published by Wiley is a non-judgmental tool and comes with 40 years of research and have benefited over 45 million people globally. The DISC model, based on the work of psychologist William Marston in the 1920s, is a popular, straightforward, standardized, and easy way to assess behavioral styles, and preferences. The DISC model provides a common language that people can use to better understand themselves and to adapt their behaviors with others. The assessments dwell deeper into the 4 main styles, provide insights into the 12 individual substyles, considering 8 behavior priorities in workplace. The tool classifies people's behavior into 4 types, as you can see on the slide: dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness, by looking at their preferences on 2 scales, which is orientation and pace. So come and explore assessment of 160 behaviors that shape your priorities in workplace, and identify what is your personality type, and learn how to read the personality type and behaviors of others to be successful in life and in career. So I hope this gives you a brief understanding of what this can do for you, not only for you, but it will enable you to read the behaviors and personality types of the other people. And life is all about interpersonal relationships. Once you can understand the behaviors of other people, you know how to flex your behaviors and always have a win-win situation. So with that, I'll hand over to Philippe. Philippe, over to you for taking the presentation ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thanks for all this insight we can gather through DISC. So as we've mentioned at the beginning, we're going to explore different assessments, not assignments. Assignments come later. So Karthik, would you care to take us to the next one, please?
Yes, Philip, thank you. So this is about StrengthsFinder, Clifton StrengthsFinder, and it all began the strengths movement in the 1950s when Donald Clifton asked the question, what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixing on what is wrong with people? So that was a starting point, and from then on till now, 23+ million people have taken StrengthsFinder, and that was this approach was a stark contrast to what is the traditional way of working on weakness for development and growth. And why this is so important is about what you see as a result. Like individuals who have worked on this approach, who have worked on what is working well for them, worked on their strengths, have found immense benefits. Like they were 6 times more likely to be more engaged in their job, and they also 6 times more likely to do what they do best every day, and also 3 times more likely to lead an excellent quality of life. So with all these results, I would like to bring in to highlight 2 key principles of this StrengthsFinder. One is each person's talents are unique and enduring, and each person's greatest room for growth is in the area of his or her greatest strength. Now, with these principles, there's a lot of research done over several years on behaviors and thoughts, and so 34 themes, behavioral themes across 4 different domains was published to give a common language of strength for all of us to speak. And this is what you see here. The 4 domains are executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. Now, executing is about making things happen. Influencing is about influencing people to to get things for a common cause, for a common goal. And relationship building is, as a meaning, is quite explanatory, and thinking is more on the thinking strength. So all these 34 themes have been carved out of deep research, and this is given as a common language. Now, what is that we can take away from this is, as we go through this instrument, we get to understand what are our top strengths, and these are the natural ways in which we behave. I mean, this is the way we are. So understanding this is going to help us. How do we apply it for maybe better relationships, also for greater career success, or maybe to live in a happy, fulfilled life? And one important point is, maybe once you get to know your strengths and then you reflect on it, you also know how are you leveraging it today. Are you under leveraging it, or you're optimally leveraging it, or you're overusing it? So are they helping you to achieve your goals? Are they coming in the way of achieving goals? So these are questions you explore and reflect on as you get to understand about your strengths. So this is an important data point for you to really take your personal and professional life to greater heights. So now to explore further, I hand over to Philip. Yeah.
Thanks again, Karthik. And as a team, we thought nothing could bring it to life more than maybe take you to some of the case studies. So what we're going to do is we're going to get different case studies to highlight some of the powers of the assessment. And again, as we've mentioned earlier in the presentation, there is no such thing as right and wrong with an assessment. The whole power of it is what are you going to do with it? So Josh, maybe why don't you take us to the first case study?
So to explore this case study with the MBTI, we're meeting Irma. She's at a networking event. Her MBTI type is an ISFP. Introversion is her dominant type. She seems to make very powerful connections and relationships at each of these events that she's attending. And she noticed that they help her grow both professionally and personally. So to the audience, what could you explain why she's effective at meeting new people and having success networking using some of the basic information I gave you and shared with MBTI? Anybody?
We have a shy audience. Oh, go on, Shane.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that she's powerful at making those connections and relationships. So that helps. Even though her dominant type is introversion, when she's able to speak to people one-on-one, she's able to build that connection and network, and then she's seeing sort of the positive benefits of that. So it's sort of maybe coming out of your comfort zone to do something that has a greater benefit. I don't know if I'm making sense, but.
Yeah, you are. And when you look at Irma, who's in the forefront with the plate of food, talking to those individuals, one thing that Philip and I noticed is that she is also a little bit reserved. So she's actually showing a little bit of her introversion by just the stature and the way that she's talking with those individuals. But yeah, you're right. They're like-minded people. So she feels a lot more comfortable, and that's one of her strengths when it comes to her sensing, is leading her to be finely attuned to her external environment. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you. So one thing that we could look more deeper into is ISFPs are good at noticing people and the natural world around them. They are reserved and share only with the like-minded people that they're with. So thanks to the MBTI assessment, Irma discovered that she's an introvert and highly observant. She naturally is someone who doesn't do too much talking, and through the power of coaching, she worked with a coach. She learned the value in attending network events and has overcome her fears. She enjoys making connections and meeting the like-minded professionals. So wonderful. That was the MBTI.
Thank you, Josh. And I hope our lovely audience find it useful. So to flip to another assessment, and again, there's no right and wrong, it depends. I'm going to ask Mira to come back on stage and take us through this case study.
So DISC is the beauty about DISC is that it's very simple and very easy to understand and very easy to apply. And the dimension of DISC is 360. What it means is you not only understand about yourself, but you also understand about the others. The life only becomes more mutual when the understanding is on both the sides, in personal or professional life. It's all about interpersonal relationships. So in this case study, Michael has started feeling low and not feeling that confidence, not feeling that jubilant of, when he's with his peer and when he's with his line manager. And he came to me for coaching and he said that, Mira, I'm not feeling that, his words were something like, I don't feel satisfied and I don't feel that I am getting my, what I deserve, in the sense that I can definitely deliver much more than what I am currently doing. And with the current work that is being given to me, I feel that if I just write a SOP and give it, probably in 2 weeks, people will even forget that I existed. And that's not what I am. That's not who I am. I'm definitely capable of doing much more than what I am doing right now. So as a coach, I asked him, so what's stopping you from doing that? You know, the coach is always there to keep asking you questions, not because of curiosity or to have an opinion about you. A coach will keep asking you questions to give words to the thoughts in your mind. So I said, all right, if you think you can do much better, then what's stopping you? And then he said, that's because my boss doesn't seem to be giving me the great kind of work that he keeps giving to my peer. I said, wonderful, all right. So why do you think that your boss keeps giving the so-called meaningful work, the so-called visible work, the so-called interesting work, not to you and to your colleague? He said, I have no idea. I really don't know why is that so. But that definitely is going on building, and I don't seem to be getting the right work, and that's why it's not making me feel good. So in a nutshell, I said, all right, let's get your personality assessment done and let's understand first. I can give you a lot of suggestions. I can ask you powerful questions. It will help you to provoke your thought process, but it will really help if you go through a personality assessment and see for yourself scientifically with a 20-page report, what does it mean? Because it's only a scientific tool which can assess 160 behaviors of yours and give meaningful, objective information to you. So we went through this personality assessment, DISC workplace for him, and let us see how using understanding of the DISC personality type and behavior assessment helped Michael to get clarity on way forward. So what we found was Michael's personality is S, which is steadiness. And his line manager's personality is a D, which is dominance. People with a D personality are driven and focus their energies on 3 priorities: results, action, and challenge. While the S personality people are driven by 3 very different priorities: collaboration, support, and stability. Now you can see how there is a complete mismatch of the priorities which shape their behavior, which shapes the energy where they focus. If Michael did not have an understanding of what his personality type is, he would have continued always thinking that his line manager is biased or is more interested in his colleague, or he has lost all the good things that he used to display earlier. In a nutshell, Michael would go by his gut feel. He would go by his past experiences that would even result into biases or prejudices in his mind. And with that lens, he would go around working in life, personally and professionally. A very simple example. Let's say you're talking to somebody and suddenly somebody frowns. You're sitting with your line manager or your peer or your colleague or an external visitor in your room, and that person frowns. Immediately your gut feeling or your vibe takes over you. And what you feel, oh my God, did I see something wrong? Whatever I said did not land well with him. Now that thing is already influencing your thought process. Every next statement which comes out of your mouth, the complete engagement till the end will have the hue of your vibe or of your gut feel about why did this guy frown. You never know. This guy would have frowned because he saw an alert on his phone, he saw an alert on his laptop, he saw something which was related altogether to a different thing. But because he was sitting in a conversation with you and you saw his frown, and that's a natural, logical reaction of human emotional state of mind. But if you have done your personality assessment, and if you know what your personality type is, and since this teaches you to read the behaviors of other people, even if that person frowns, you will still not have the gut feeling or the vibe. You will have a scientific understanding and you will carry on with the win-win situation. So coming back to Michael, the fears of D personality is loss of control. And the fear of S personality is loss of stability. So Michael, in order to be aligned with his line manager, needs to understand his own behavior type and the personality type of his line manager and flex his behavior to be successful in his engagement. So here are some of the ways that Michael can flex his behavior and get back on track using DISC. First, move quickly to focus the discussion on the topic at hand. 2, refrain from taking the line manager's bluntness personally. Talk to line manager about benefits of including others' ideas, but focus on the bottom line results. Speak up to make sure he has a voice in the solution. Show his boss how including plans of other people can bring better results. And last, avoid giving in just to restore harmony. So in short, Michael needs to start focusing on including results and action in his engagements and not shy away from challenging or putting across his views candidly. This will gain him respect and the required momentum that his boss gets energized with. It's all about understanding what is it that energizes the opposite person and at the same time avoid getting stressed ourselves. Knowing your motivators, knowing your stressors, and understanding the behaviors of others creates the win-win situation. I hope this helped you to have a little more understanding about how DISC assessments help an individual to move forward in life. Thank you. Over to you, Philippe.
Amazing, thanks, Mira. And when you see the poor potentially Michael on the picture, it did look quite stressed. So why don't we just quickly move over to Karthik for the final case study about assessment and see what we can do with that before we have some questions from the audience. And I also do believe we receive questions from people who couldn't make it because of time difference. So Karthik, would you care to take us through the last case study, please?
Yes, Philip, yeah. So this case study talks about Hasan. So incidentally, we have Nahid Hasan Raju with us today, but it's a pure coincidence. So Hasan, who is in this talked about in the case study, is working in a multinational services organization, has 15 plus years of experience. But I mean, for the past 3 years, he has been feeling, not so good about the job. He has not been enjoying the job. And he wanted to do something different. There is something, an urge in him that he wants to do, maybe become an entrepreneur or maybe a different job in his corporate career. He wasn't sure about it. There was a continuous dilemma. And he has been thinking about quite some time for now, but he hasn't been able to make his decision. So this was a similar situation with one of my clients. And what really, in your opinion here from the participants, what really do you think would help Hasan to make his decision between a corporate career or moving to an entrepreneurial career? Okay. So any thoughts? Okay.
I would say he would have to assess his strengths and weaknesses. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So he has to make sure his strengths are aligned with what is required with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Thanks, Shane. I think that was a useful perspective. And in fact, there was a similarity in the approach that was handled during the coaching conversation too. So here for Hasan, what really helped is to understand what his motivators are and also what his strengths were. And in fact, before these 3 years, he was enjoying his job or he was doing well. So what was really working well for him? That was an important thing to also explore. At the same time, looking ahead, what is important? How do he leverage his strengths? And what is really suiting him, a corporate career or an entrepreneurship? Or if so, in corporate career, what is that where he is leveraging his strengths to the maximum? Because when he is able to leverage his strengths, he is going to be happy and more enjoy his work more, and that's going to be maybe to help him lead a more happy, fulfilled life. So looking at a whole person perspective, we looked at what is driving him, what are his top strengths, and how is he leveraging it today? Is he overusing it, underusing it? One of the things he came across, just to give an example, is one of his top strengths was restorative from the Strengths Finder. And what it means is that person loves to fix problems. And what has come across is, I mean, as a person loving to fix problems, I mean, he has been, that behavior was also helping him get ahead in his career. At the same time, overusing it was not helping him move ahead in very critical junctures. So this was also an important thing that came up as part of doing the understanding strengths. And in terms of his dilemma, what he really found out is understanding his strengths and understanding what is valued, what he valued. Like freedom is something he valued. So given that, he felt there would be more freedom for in an entrepreneurial career. But at the same time, like we all did balance of wheel now, right? So in that way, is it at this point in my life, is it the right decision to take? I mean, that was also an important thing from a value driver point of view, who he considered that. And finally, he said, entrepreneurship is for me, but I think it's something maybe I'll do it just 2 years down the line. But the question then moved on to how do I prepare myself for an entrepreneurial career from now? So then the entire conversation was towards the steps towards it. And one of the steps he took was to take on a role in the corporate career where he's going to leverage his strengths more, at the same time prepare for an entrepreneurial career 2 years hence. So that's the way in understanding his strengths helped him to navigate his career in a better way, and also look at what something is going to help him lead a better, balanced, fulfilled life. So over to you, Philip.
Thank you so much, Karthik. So if we were to kind of summarize today, the assessments are tools that you can use to really help you answer some of the questions you have in your career, in your life, and so many aspects. And there are different types of assessments, and we've seen a few today. And based on those, you can have different insights on your life. So we've spoken about different case studies and how you could get insight about them. You've experienced the wheel of life, so hopefully you've identified some of the focus in your life. And finally, if you wanted to have more and know more about assessment, just talk to one of our coaches. So before, and I've seen Monica's already posted questions that people have sent us because they couldn't join due to time difference. It's quite really early in the morning in countries like Australia. Does any of our esteemed audience have any questions they would like to ask live?
Hi, Philip. Mira was talking about the assessment. So what if the your manager or the boss has not taken the assessment? So then how would you interpret that situation?
Sure. Mira, do you want to answer that?
Yes. So Shion, thank you for that question. And that's a very relevant question. The other person doesn't really need to take an assessment, because when you go through a DISC assessment, it not only gives you the report of your own behaviors and your own personality, it actually teaches you how to read the personalities of the other 12 types. And it gives you the behaviors, it gives you the stressors, it gives you the motivators, it gives you the fears, it gives you the things that they are influenced by, what they judge other people by, and how to be effective with these people. So it gives you a 7-dimensional model on each personality type of the 12 different personalities. So you are able to read the personality type of your line manager very easily and understand on the 7-dimension model what works for him and what doesn't work for him. And then you compare it with your own strengths and your own limitations and see how you can flex your behavior so that you land in a manner that he's receptive. It's just saying the things in a different way, but understanding before and then saying. So to answer, a short answer to your question is, the other person doesn't need to do his personality assessment. You will get to learn about the 12 personalities when you get your assessment done.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Great, thanks, Mira. So maybe let me take one of the questions we received earlier. So Melissa in Australia, who works in HR, wanted to understand if there's an assessment which is best used for the people in her team. So maybe let me just go around the panel and see what they think. So Josh, should we start with you about your views on the question?
That the MBTI can be used to understand your team dynamics better. It could be used to help the leader understand who they are and ways that they can leverage their strengths, kind of like Irma is in, we explored her in a network setting, but that's also a large group setting. So it's sort of like the same thing to some extent, where the leader has to would lead the team, and how does that leader perform? But then also what it does is it breaks down into the individual, and overall, and everyone would learn about all their different strengths and weaknesses, and the team dynamics and the evocative conversations that would come through the facilitation of MBTI would really make a big team cohesion and in that conference.
Okay, thanks for that, Josh. Karthik, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Philip, I think, it depends on the agenda that the HR is bringing in here. And what I really think is, maybe from a point of strength finder, it could be used to understand the individual of each who's present in the team. At the same time, to bring in more collaboration within the team, maybe like what we usually say, even as how people are perceived. My experience of using this in a high potential team is, there are tags that we attach to people, and once we use strength finder and people understood that this behavior are actually coming from their strengths and they're not, say, trying to do anything else, people saw people from a different lens. So I think this is just one example, one application. But again, coming into the specific agenda of what the person wants, we could have an appropriate assessment or maybe a group of assessments to give them enough data to actually achieve the goal that they want.
Okay, great. Thanks, Karthik. So another question we had was from Sanam, who sent a question. She's a student and doesn't want to spend too much and wants to know a bit more about herself. So let me just answer that one, and then anyone can chip it. The way I would see it is, as we've seen earlier in the webinar, the Wheel of Life was completely free and can allow you to start having a great start to know about yourself. And then as an individual, it's up to you to go all the way in the assessment, which have all kind of their own characteristics, will show you different insights about yourself, and all have also different prices. So depending on what you want, we can recommend you. And to answer Sanam, what I would recommend she does is maybe actually take the Wheel of Life, speak to one of our coaches, because we versed in all the assessment, and then based on what you want to do, we could recommend you the best assessment. So I have a question that some of my clients have asked me a lot, because there's that part about the human beings that want perfection. So Mira, this one's for you. And loads of my clients who have taken DISC ask me the same question, which is there such thing as a perfect DISC? Because, you know, you always come with one dominating, and they want to know, well, should I be more this? Should I be more that? So what's the view on the perfect DISC?
There is nothing which is superior or inferior, as it works in all the assessments. The first fundamental thing that we always, as coaches, as trainers, as assessors, we always mention even before an individual takes assessment. There are no right or wrong answers. There is no superior or inferior. There is nothing more and nothing less. There is no perfect DISC. See, as long as there's a balance, yeah, everything works well. So there's nothing called that if I'm perfect on these 10 counts, then I'm better than the others. No, it's about taking people along. It's about being a part of the journey, and it's about being successful. So any assessment, I think, not only DISC, will help you to balance, to understand and scientifically understand, and then engage, rather than engaging out of your gut feel or out of your past experiences. That is what I would say.
Great, thanks for sharing, Mira. So let me ask the audience if they have any questions they want to ask us. Okay, maybe anyone want to share anything about the Wheel of Life, or anything you would like to bring up? Shan, is there anything you want to ask this lovely panel?
No, thank you. Thank you so much for this. I was curious, when you do the Wheel of Life with your clients and then they've identified several areas in that wheel, do doing one as a priority, or like, you know, how do you plan it moving forward? Because obviously sometimes it's too overwhelming when you're looking at too many areas.
So that's an amazing question. Let me start and then I'll invite the panel. So because we're coaches and not advisors, our job is not to tell the client what to do. So let's suppose there are 2 or 3 areas that really worries them or they're stressed about. The first thing we're going to do is ask the client, which one do you want to focus on first? And then based on the area, we might come with different program, different session, different not recommendation, but you see what I mean, different exploratory paths. So I don't know if Kartik, Josh, Mira, you want to add anything? I can see Josh frantically nodding, so Josh.
Yeah, one of the things that we did while we were just planning the webinar together as a team was I showed another feature that I do with the clients that want to really zero in on something. So let's, for instance, say it's money is the spoke. I use the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, which is actually another assessment where we could spend a whole webinar on. But I use that with the client as a tool to help them kind of help chart and plan their goals. It's a pyramid that's not filled out. And to briefly describe what a Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid is, the most essential needs are at the bottom, and then you keep building up the pyramid until you reach a self-efficacy, which would be the ultimate goal. And in between would be where they can figure out, okay, am I going to hire a certified financial planner, or, you know, all different kinds of little things in between, but you find out the bare bones is like, okay, maybe I just need to set up a bank account. That could be like the first bottom part of the pyramid, but that's one of the things I do as another tool to bring into the, that goes alongside with the wheel.
Great, thanks, Josh. Well, I think just before we wrap up, what we would like to do is, one of the reasons why we all do coaching is our passion to give back to people. So one of the things I would like to invite the audience, and even if you watch the recording later, is why don't you try a free discovery session with one of the members of the team? And to do that, just go on our website, which is www.getsetcoach.com, or alternatively, send us an email at start@getsetcoach, and you can try one coach. You can try all of our coaches to really understand the power behind the coaching. So I think all I have left is thank everyone who attended.